Today in our whiteboard leadership, we're going to talk about the relationship between performance and potential with our leaders. This is a huge issue, especially if you're a church that has high capacity leaders and you have high vision for ministry. And what I'm going to do, like in many of the other trainings I have, I'm going to create a quadrant for you to take these two things and put them against each other and see how we do. And so on this side, I'm going to write the word performance, actually the word perform. And down here, I'm going to write the word potential. And what we find is that there are people that have all different levels of these things. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the word high right here, and low right here, and then high right here. So they've got low potential to high potential. They've got low performance to high performance. And so again, I'm going to label these people. Again, these are just general labels. And in this case, the quadrants aren't as important, but they do help us a little bit. And I'll explain a little bit later on. You've got these people who have low potential. You know that their gifts and abilities aren't that big, but they tend to perform at the same level of their potential. And so they may not have great potential, but they're pretty good at what they do. What do you call this person in this quadrant? I prefer to call them a steady worker. The church is built on steady workers. There are a whole lot of people in the church that maybe they can't do much because of the things they're doing outside the church or with their family or with their business, but when they're there, they serve with their whole heart. They serve God and they serve you. And steady workers are an important part. They're the huge part of the church. And then you've got these people who are high potential and high performance. In other words, they have high levels of expectation and they actually deliver on what you think they will. And so I'm just going to label these people, they're high capacity leaders. God has blessed all of us with high capacity leaders in our churches. And the great thing about that is these people tend to take on more ministry than you think is humanly possible. Everything they do turns to gold. They're humble and they're teachable and they're teammates, and it's great to have them on your team. Now, what I want you to see is that really this is the sweet spot. This area is a sweet spot of ministry. And you want people to be in that sweet spot where their potential and their performance are kind of matching with each other. But there are a whole lot of people that you think have a high potential, but their performance is kind of low. What would you call that person? You would call them an underachiever. Underachievers, you look at them, you think they have great potential, and yet they never match up to your expectations. Disappointment is when your experience doesn't meet your expectations, and you're kind of disappointed about these people, and so you have to know how to handle them. And on the other side are these other people that you think their potential is very low, but God surprises you with their performance, that they go way above your expectations. And so if these people are underachievers, what do you call these people? You call them overachievers. Overachievers are God's blessing on our ministry. I've had so many people in my church that went way beyond in their inviting or in their serving or in their giving or in their relational capacity or in their personal spiritual growth. And God has just blessed us over and over and over. You know, God can do anything in anyone's life who's completely surrendered to Him. And these people are overachieving. So here's the question. What do you do to help these people move toward the potential that God has for them? Four simple things to think about. If someone is a steady worker and their potential and their performance are matching, what do you do with that person? Well, the answer is you're just going to encourage them. Just encourage them, because they may not ever be high potential leaders, but they are steady workers. They're doing what God designed them to do and doing what they're able to do. And so you don't condemn them for not being high capacity. You thank them for using the gifts and abilities that God has given. They're one talent people versus the 2 talent and 5 talent people that Jesus talks about in the parable of the talents. They're doing what they were built and able to do. On the high side, you got these high capacity leaders who are who are there. And what I realize about these people is they probably have even more potential than you think. They have more capacity than you think. And so with these people, you want to empower them. One of the biggest mistakes that we make in ministry is we assume that because people are volunteers that they don't have capacity of staff, or because they're a certain type of staff, they don't have the capacity of others. And so we want to release them, we want to support them, we want to empower them, we want to mobilize them to do more, give them more responsibility. And then you've got these underachievers who have very high potential, but they haven't met up to their performance. Now, you could have been wrong about their potential, and you have to realize that and recognize that. But once you realize, no, I was right about their potential, they're just simply, lazy or not getting the job done, then what you do with an underachiever is you challenge them. You challenge them. You say, listen, I know you can do more. I believe you can do more, and so you kind of have to set standards and give them guidelines, but the whole idea is you're trying to challenge them to move up to their potential and become high-capacity leaders that you think they are and that God made them to be. And then you've got these surprise people, these overachievers, and you gave them a little bit of credit for potential, but you had their performance was way over their potential. With these people, you want to reward them. Reward them with more responsibility. Reward them with more. Just like in the parable of the talents, those who had 5 were given 5 more because it was a reward for them. And so these people may be, for example, a Sunday school teacher who you thought, they're probably a Sunday school teacher, but then you realize, no, they can do more than that. And you may reward them with overseeing an entire Sunday school section, or perhaps a grade or some other thing. Maybe they're a small group leader, and you realize they're doing so great and they're multiplying other small group leaders that you make them a leader over several small groups instead of just one small group. But you reward them for their efforts, reward them for their performance. This is a great way to think about our ministries. Here's the question for you today. What are your expectations? And what's the performance? And are you actually looking at those things when it comes to your staff and your volunteers in your church? And who are the underachievers, the overachievers? Who are the steady workers? And who are the high-capacity leaders? And if they're overachievers, reward them. If they're steady workers, encourage and thank them. If they're high-capacity leaders, then empower them. And if they're underachievers, challenge them. The gospel is so important. We have to move forward in helping people meet, know, and follow Jesus. Challenge them to get on board with the vision and to move forward with the full potential that God has given them. This has been a Converge Whiteboard Leadership Moment. To learn more about Converge or to join us, check out converge.org.